What you're about to witness is absolutely explosive. Jared Kushner just orchestrated the most sophisticated disinformation campaign in political history. A $50 million secret fund designed to destroy Zoran Mamdani through fake news and social media manipulation. And what happened next will shock you to your core. In just 51 seconds, everything changed. The entire conspiracy collapsed. Mamdani didn't just fight back. He exposed the truth live on camera with documents that made the entire establishment panic. This isn't just another political scandal, folks. This is how billionaire puppet masters operate in the shadows to control democracy itself. Breaking news that's sending shockwaves through every corridor of power from Washington, D.C. to Wall Street. Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law and the architect of some of the most devastating political operations in modern history, has been caught red-handed funding the biggest fake news campaign ever launched against a single candidate. The target, Zoran Mamdani, the progressive champion who's terrifying the establishment by actually fighting for working families instead of billionaire donors. But here's where this story gets absolutely insane. Kushner didn't just write a check and walk away. He personally coordinated with social media influencers, fake news websites, and bot networks to spread coordinated lies about Mamdani across every platform imaginable. We're talking about a sophisticated psychological warfare operation designed to make voters believe Mamdani was everything from a terrorist sympathizer to a communist agent. The attacks were relentless and brutal. Fake videos showing Mamdani supposedly celebrating 9/11, doctored audio clips making it sound like he supported Hamas, coordinated bot networks spreading lies about his family's immigration status. This wasn't politics. This was character assassination on an industrial scale. For weeks, social media was flooded with content designed to destroy Mamdani's reputation. The fake news spread like wildfire. Facebook groups with millions of members sharing completely fabricated stories. Twitter bots amplifying every lie. TikTok videos with millions of views spreading conspiracy theories. The city was in complete panic. Mamdani's poll numbers were plummeting. His own supporters were starting to doubt him. The mainstream media, instead of investigating the obvious disinformation campaign, was actually amplifying some of these lies by fact-checking them. This gave the false stories even more visibility and credibility. The establishment thought they had won. Kushner was reportedly celebrating with Trump, convinced they had successfully destroyed the one politician who posed a genuine threat to their corrupt system. Wall Street donors were breathing sighs of relief. The billionaire class thought they had eliminated their biggest enemy. But they underestimated Zoran Mamdani's intelligence, determination, and absolute commitment to truth. While his enemies were spreading lies, Mamdani's team was conducting a forensic investigation. They followed the money trails. They tracked IP addresses. They identified the coordinated timing patterns. They uncovered the entire network of fake accounts and bot farms. And most importantly, they found the smoking gun. Financial documents proving exactly where the $50 million came from. Then came the moment that changed everything. October 15th, 2025, 5:47 p.m. Mamdani called an emergency press conference. The room was packed with journalists, expecting him to respond to the latest round of attacks. Instead, he walked to the podium carrying a thick binder of documents and a laptop connected to a massive screen. For the past month, Mamdani began, his voice calm but filled with righteous anger. My family and I have been subjected to the most vicious disinformation campaign in modern political history. Today, I'm going to show you exactly who's behind it and how much they spent to lie to you. The room went dead silent. Cameras zoomed in. Even the journalists looked shocked by his confidence. Mamdani opened the binder to the first page, a bank transfer receipt for $50 million from a shell company called American Democracy Protection Fund to something called Digital Truth Initiative. Both organizations, as Mamdani explained, were fronts controlled by Jared Kushner. But that wasn't the bombshell. That was just the set. This $50 million, Mamdani continued, didn't come from Jared Kushner's personal fortune. It came from a much more powerful source. He clicked to the next slide. It came directly from Donald Trump's Political Action Committee, funneled through 3 different shell companies to hide the paper trail. The room erupted. Cameras flashed. Journalists were frantically typing. But Mamdani wasn't finished. For exactly 51 seconds, he methodically displayed document after document. Bank transfers showing $50 million flowing through Deutsche Bank accounts, email chains between Kushner and fake news operators with subject lines like Phase 2 family attacks and ramping up Muslim angle, meeting schedules proving coordination with Steve Bannon's network. Invoices from Russian bot farms charging $2.3 million for engagement amplification services, contracts with fake news websites paying $500,000 for anti-Mamdani articles, payment receipts to social media influencers, including $75,000 to a TikToker with 3 million followers for spreading lies about Mamdani's family. But the documents revealed something even more sinister. Internal strategy memos discussing psychological profiling of New York voters, market research identifying which lies would be most effective against different demographic groups, focus group testing of fake audio clips to determine which ones sounded most believable. This wasn't just disinformation, it was psychological warfare conducted with scientific precision. One particularly chilling document showed a timeline called Operation Takedown, with specific weekly targets. Week 1, launch terrorist sympathizer narrative. Week 2, amplify anti-American sentiment claims. Week 3, attack family background and immigration status. Week 4, peak saturation with deepfake video release. The entire character assassination had been planned months in advance, with military-style precision. The financial trail was even more damning. The $50 million hadn't come from Trump's campaign directly. It had been laundered through a network of dark money groups, including Americans for Prosperity, which received $30 million from Koch Industries specifically for the Mamdani operation. Another $15 million came from a shell company controlled by Peter Thiel, the billionaire Trump supporter, who had previously funded similar operations against progressive candidates. The final document was the most explosive of all, a recorded phone call between Kushner and Trump discussing the operation. Mamdani played the audio live. Trump's voice was unmistakable. Whatever it takes, Jared, 50 million, 100 million. We cannot let this socialist destroy everything we've built. The donors are getting nervous. Bloomberg called me personally. He's terrified Mamdani's wealth tax will spread to other cities. As the audio played, you could hear a pin drop in the press room. Then chaos erupted. Reporters were shouting questions. Camera flashes were going off like strobe lights. CNN's Anderson Cooper, who was covering the press conference live, called it the most explosive political revelation in modern American history, while the audio was still playing. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Within minutes, Kushner Gate was trending worldwide with over 2 million tweets in the first hour. Major news networks cut to live coverage. Fox News actually cut away from their regular programming, which never happens for local political stories. International journalists were calling it the biggest political scandal since Watergate. The Guardian's headline read, "American Democracy Under Cyber Attack by Trump Family." Le Monde called it the death of truth in America. Even authoritarian regimes were condemning the operation. Putin's spokesperson said Russia had never conducted such sophisticated domestic disinformation campaigns. The documents Mamdani presented were so detailed and comprehensive that even the most skeptical observers couldn't deny their authenticity. Cybersecurity experts who examined the materials live on television confirmed the digital signatures and metadata were legitimate. Former CIA Director John Brennan called the evidence overwhelming and deeply disturbing. But the establishment's response was even more revealing. Instead of denying the allegations, they immediately went into full panic mode. Kushner's lawyers issued threatening statements within hours, claiming the recordings violated federal wiretapping laws. Trump's team didn't just claim the recordings were deepfakes. They hired a crisis management firm that had previously worked for Exxon during their climate change scandals. Republican politicians started attacking Mamdani for endangering national security by exposing the operation, with Ted Cruz calling for a federal investigation into Mamdani rather than Kushner. Wall Street went into meltdown. The Dow Jones dropped 400 points in after-hours trading as advisors realized the extent of political manipulation in American elections. Goldman Sachs issued an internal memo warning clients about unprecedented political instability following the revelations. Bloomberg terminal messages showed panic among major donors who had funded similar operations. Their desperation proved everything. If the documents were fake, why were they hiring the most expensive lawyers in Washington? Why were they threatening Mamdani with lawsuits instead of simply proving the evidence was fabricated? The aftermath was swift and decisive. Federal investigators announced they would review the evidence. Social media companies finally admitted they had failed to detect the coordinated, inauthentic behavior. Major news outlets issued public apologies for amplifying the disinformation. Most importantly, the voters saw through the lies. Mamdani's poll numbers didn't just recover, they skyrocketed. New Yorkers realized they had been manipulated by billionaires who were terrified of losing their grip on power. The Kushner documents revealed something even more sinister than just one disinformation campaign. They showed a systematic effort by Trump's inner circle to interfere in local elections across the country. Similar operations had been launched against progressive candidates in Chicago, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. This wasn't just about stopping Mamdani, it was about crushing the entire progressive movement before it could challenge billionaire control of American politics. But Mamdani's courage in exposing the truth changed everything. Other candidates who had been attacked came forward with their own evidence. Whistleblowers inside the digital manipulation networks started leaking internal documents. The entire corrupt system was collapsing under the weight of its own lies. What makes this revelation so absolutely incredible is how it perfectly illustrates what's happening in American politics right now. On one side, you have billionaire oligarchs like Kushner and Trump who are willing to spend tens of millions of dollars on lies and manipulation to maintain their power. On the other side, you have candidates like Mamdani who are willing to risk everything to tell the truth and fight for working families. The $50 million disinformation campaign against Mamdani was never really about him personally. It was about what he represents, the possibility that American democracy might actually serve the people instead of the powerful. That's why they were so desperate to destroy him. That's why they spent so much money trying to lie about him. And that's why his victory means so much for the future of our country. This isn't just about New York City. It's about whether truth can triumph over lies, whether grassroots organizing can defeat billionaire manipulation, whether ordinary Americans can reclaim their democracy from the oligarchs who have captured it. The evidence couldn't be clearer. You can see the candidates backed by the same people who spent $50 million trying to lie to you. Or you can see leaders who have the courage to expose corruption, no matter how powerful the people behind it. The documentation starts with truth. And truth, as Zoran Mamdani proved in those crucial 51 seconds, is the most powerful weapon we have against corruption. Share this investigation. Make sure everyone knows what really happened. The mainstream media won't tell you about Kushner's $50 million disinformation operation because they're too afraid of the powerful interests behind it. But you have the power to spread the truth. Use it.